What kind of impact has the past couple of years had on the development of the digital economy? Has digitization really accelerated? And what has been the main impact on service providers and their customers? Well, I'm talking today with Mattias Fridström, Vice President and Chief Evangelist at Arelion, to get a perspective on how the communications networking world has changed during the pandemic years. So, Mattias, great to see you again. Let's start by finding out how things have been going since Telia Carrier was rebranded as Arelion at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ray. I think things are going really well. I think something we didn't really realize was how much we were stuck in the Telia facilities and how much we now need to move to our own facilities when it comes to IT systems and that stuff. So I think the whole telco movement going from the telco cloud we had built with Telia to our own telco cloud is just pushing us through the same thing as most of our customers are going through as well. So I think, when they digitalize, we also do that. So that's one thing. As part of the normal business, in the carrier wholesale industry, we just need to make sure everyone understands our new name is Arelion. In the enterprise space, I don't think anyone really knew Telia Carrier, so there's no change there. Arelion is still a very unknown brand, and that's where we need to work to get more famous, because I think the services we're providing is services that's needed in the coming years.
Okay, so really interesting to hear how you've been experiencing what many of your customers have been experiencing the last couple of years as well. How do you think the perception of telcos from customers, consumers and governments has changed as a result of the past 2 years?
I really think it's changed to the positive. I think governments especially, but also others, have become more aware of the services we're doing. I think people didn't really realize where the Zoom traffic or the Microsoft Teams traffic or the WebEx traffic, where that really traveled and who was running that service for them. I think companies are now in general much more aware of their telecom infrastructure, and therefore there are more questions coming our ways about, what's the best way to do this? How do I access the cloud? Where is the cloud? That type of stuff. So I think this has become a much better thing for the telecom environment. People are more aware of our services and people are more interested in our services because they really need to be interested in our services.
Yeah, absolutely. Undoubtedly, much greater awareness now of how things are working. At the same time, has digitization really accelerated both within CSP operations and those of their customers? And are we seeing evidence that digital adoption within consumer and enterprise sectors will continue post-pandemic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really see that. Basically, what we talked about here was that we saw a 3-year digitalization in 3 months when the pandemic started. And I think that has continued. I can see when I look at the traffic towards the cloud, that traffic has grown with almost 600-700% compared to what we had before the pandemic. So there are absolutely signs of companies going towards the cloud and therefore moving a lot of their stuff that they typically had in their basement before into the cloud and therefore become more digitalized. So I think there are many, many signs out there. I think companies in general are much more aware of the situation, including ourselves, because I think in many ways, yeah, we knew we stored data in the cloud, but we didn't really know where in the cloud and how we access that really. That we had to investigate now ourselves. And I think companies are in general now much more aware of how they do this and how they can run their applications in the cloud and who is running them for them and how to access them in a smart way and how to access them in a secure way. So I think, yes, absolutely, digitalization is continuing and it's on the top of the agenda of many, many enterprises and CSPs right now.
So how do you think the industry continue to maintain this pace of transformation? And what are the key issues and challenges that need to be addressed? For example, is automation key in this regard?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. And I think in some way automation is important. But I really feel that we as a telecom provider needs to continue to guide our customers. It's not really simple. And I think we learned that ourselves now, moving ourselves from one telco cloud to another telco cloud, or moving from servers we had in the basement to servers in the cloud. So I think there are no simple solutions here. They should be simple. It shouldn't be that hard. but we have a tendency of complicating things and taking too big of a scope and so on. So I think really we as a telco need to guide our customers. There are some segments and verticals that is quite far advanced, but there are others that's far behind. We need to guide them into this because we need to help them select the perfect cloud, the perfect solution, public or private. There are many questions here that we need to help customers guidance. If we do that, I would say this can continue at a quite big pace as it is doing right now.
So, Mattias, what for you has emerged as important, possible, or vital as a result of the past 2 years that wasn't making waves in the telecom sector in 2019? That seems like a lifetime ago. Has there been a Eureka moment in the past couple of years?
I actually think so. I think there's a couple of areas that have changed dramatically the last couple of years. I think security is one of them. Security was important before 2019, but it's increasingly important. And I think many companies have become aware of security now in a very different way. I actually think the war in the East right now is increasing that importance. But I think that is an area where people before kind of took it for granted and felt, we're pretty secure with what we do. Right now, I think every company have security on top of their agenda, making sure that wherever their people are working from, they need to have a secure connection to whatever application they need to have and use. So I think that's one of the biggest areas that's changed. The other one that has changed dramatically is also the sort of knowledge of the importance of infrastructure. We see a lot of mobile companies selling their towers. We see a lot of new sea cables being built transatlantic, transpacific, and around the world. We see a lot of more investment coming in from companies, purely investment in companies that have infrastructure, ducts and cables in the ground. That is now very important. And people have seen the importance of these cables, and therefore the flow of investment into our industry has increased a lot. So I think those two areas, they were important before, but they're way more important now.
Okay, so a lot of positive advances in terms of the network and the infrastructure and the digitization. But is there any evidence that service providers are now really more focused on improving customer experience rather than just talking about it?
Yeah, I think we start to see that stuff. I think everyone is talking about their fantastic customer experience, but I think still there are far from too many offering a perfect customer experience. I think there are many things that's still very manual in our industry. Manual can be good. If you do it manually really well, it could be good. But I can start to see signs. I can see that many of our providers that is selling services to us and others are starting to send us more automated answers on some stuff. It's easier to find information. It's easier to get responses from them and so on. Telcos still have a long way to go. It's far from perfect in terms of customer experience, but I think most of the companies have realized that the only way for me to keep my customers is to have a very good customer experience. I can't have slow processes, difficult systems to find information in and so on. So I think we start to see signs. There's still a long way to go, but I think the promising signs we see are good for the industry.
Okay, great. Well, maybe that's one area of the industry where we'll see more acceleration in the next couple of years, and it's definitely needed. Well, Mattias, great to talk with you again. Thanks very much for giving us your perspective on how things have been changing in the industry, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me.